This man pulls out a $50 bill, gives it to me, kind of like, here's your tip and shut the fuck up, get out my face type shit, which I don't give a fuck, because how dare you go out to eat in a party of 16 on a tab of $320 and not tip?
Now look, I don't agree with the man being rude to her, but when it comes to tipping, I really feel like it's a case by case, person by person type of thing, because you're not legally required to tip.
And in today's video, we have the problem with tipping culture. Now, bro, you already know we talked about the problem with tipping already. The pizza girl stabbed a woman over a $2 tip, a pregnant woman at that. You know what I'm saying? Then you have everywhere you go, even machines asking for a goddamn tip. Like, come on, man, give me a break.
The problem with working at a job, the problem with tipping is that some of these people feel like they're entitled to a tip. You have to earn a tip. It's not given.
Hey, bro, what do you want, bro? What do you want? I paid for my food. I paid for my food. What are you talking? Why are you following me down the street? You need to get the fuck back.
Oh, I didn't see this Asian dude.
Why are you following me?
Destroy this whole restaurant.
Video apparently went to this restaurant. He ordered himself a nice $25 meal, and after receiving his food, apparently he didn't tip. He ends up leaving the restaurant, and the restaurant owner / manager follows him, upset that he didn't tip.
Call 911. Call 911 if you need to.
The sad part about this is I heard the whole story behind it. And it's sad that it's going viral now because the man is continuously, that means that he's continuously losing business over this old incident. And you know, heart goes out to him, but this is why, as a man, you must remain in frame at all times. Listen, I do these videos, I get in character with y'all, but for the most part, bro, chilling. You know what I'm saying? You can get mad at a nigga. Bro, you can ask even T-Raw, I'm getting even more deadly with this shit, bro. I used to couldn't hold my composure when niggas was yelling at me.
Fact.
But you even witness it firsthand. Like, I'm getting better with it. Holding your composure is the best thing you can do as a man. This nigga shouldn't even have been walking down the street. He should have just said he's banned.
Yeah.
He's not letting them through the front door of my restaurant no more. And then the nigga would have to make a commotion himself with his camera. And then now it's like a two-side story versus you just looking bad and no one wanting to hear your side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what you did.
That's why they say the internet is forever, bro.
What?
Feel me? So even if he did change, as to date, this video is still circling around the internet.
That's what I'm saying. And so his actions is punishing him. I'm not trying to pause too much, y'all, but I'm going to say this one thing. I seen the video he put out about the incident. He said this guy that's filming him comes to his restaurant frequently, never left a tip.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get a lot of customers, right? So this guy being a frequent guy, you know, tipping helps.
Yeah.
Because it's going to go towards his customers, his employees, because he doesn't be paying them more than he can afford.
Yeah.
So now that's why he's chasing him down like, yo, my employees need to eat. And I get it. Because probably earlier that day or the day before, one of his employees probably came to him about a raise.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I can't afford to pay this nigga. I might have to fire this nigga.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then now you're coming in not tipping. It was just literally what you call it? It just blew over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just the tipping on the iceberg. It was just over with.
To give you a fucking tip, get the fuck back.
The guy recording the video starts getting super defensive, and I mean, rightfully so, because he's getting followed by this guy. You start to hear the nervousness in his voice. And at some point, he takes a firm stance and yells at the guy to get back. And the guy doesn't respond to this well at all.
Get back. Get back, bro. Huh? I'm telling you to get back. Yelling at me. Fuck with you, bro. Bro.
Yelling at me.
You piece of shit. Bro, I'm trying to goddamn fucking yelling at me. I paid for my food. Bro, I paid for my food. I pay for my food, bro.
I smacked that.
I pay for my food. How the f you didn't think they make money? I pay for my food.
I would have just kept walking, bro.
I go lie, that's a crazy statement. It's your staff.
So raise
I
your
would have
hand.
just kept walking.
Bro, we can solve this.
What he gonna do? What my ass?
Chill,
Cause
bro.
I ain't tip.
We can solve this. Chill, bro.
I already know what a lot of you guys are thinking.
God knows not to put me in these type of situations, because that would have played out very differently.
Now, I'm not a
What?
lawyer or anything, but if someone is
I'm trying to
following
tell
you
you.
for several blocks,
I'm gonna put him
clearly
on the-
being
on the
malicious,
flow.
cussing at you, threatening you, correct me if I'm wrong, but at a
Or
certain
I'm gonna let
point,
him
you should
hit
be
me
able to
so I can
legally
get a
shoot this
lawsuit.
person
I wouldn't have
or
did
at least,
shit.
you know,
Pass
fight back
the
somehow.
paper. I
Now,
need
for
the
anyone
paper.
wondering what happened to the owner of this
Appreciate you, man.
restaurant,
I wouldn't have did
all I'm
shit.
gonna
I
say
would've
is he
just
should
ignored
let
him.
that tip
I'd have
go.
let him hit me.
Shame.
I want to get money.
Bring shame to my wife.
Thank you.
Husband.
Now you gonna have to unemploy the
You know,
motherfucker.
at the same
Duh.
time, I left my mom and dad.
The video ignited a debate online about tipping and
Look at
led
his
some people to
face.
leave
My
messages on the
restaurant now.
sidewalk in shock, calling the business Tip with the Sticks, anti-black.
Tip to sticks, how can I help you? I'm sorry?
The backlash has forced them to stop taking calls, deactivate their social media, while Yelp has paused any new reviews.
Now, I'm not saying what the
Yep.
restaurant owner did
See
is
what
okay
this
by any
came
means,
to,
but
bro?
I definitely feel like he was having a moment. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, especially because he's a
That
business
ruined
owner.
his
He was
shit.
probably under a lot of pressure, and that was kind of his breaking point. And one thing that's a pretty good indicator of when someone is being genuine is how they go about taking accountability. And it seemed like this guy took full responsibility. And he
Yeah,
didn't try
this
to
is
do
what
any,
I was
like,
talking
blame
about.
shifting. And I'm also going to give the victim the benefit of the doubt because we never know if that was his last. You never know people's situations. I've had moments where I bought food and I couldn't afford to tip. And for all the people who
Yeah, me
perpetuate
too.
and believe in the stereotype that black men are violent,
But I try
just
not
wanna
to do
say
that. That's
this
why I don't go out to
situation
eat.
shows you that it's not all of
If I
us.
can't
Now,
tip, I don't
obviously,
even want to
there's
go
a
out
much
to
bigger
eat.
problem that needs to be
Yeah,
addressed
yeah.
here, which is American
Unless it's
tipping
like
culture.
fast
So
food.
today we're gonna talk about.
If it's like when me and this nigga go grab wings and a nigga expecting a tip, hell no, nigga. It's just a snack. Niggas ain't shit.
I wasn't expecting you to say that.
Tipping culture and how it went from being a gesture to an unspoken rule. To understand how America basically came up with a second way to tax its citizens, we gotta go back to the 20th century. In the 1800s, tipping was actually considered un-American. People thought it created an unfair class system. But after the Civil War, restaurants, especially those who didn't want to pay black workers, started encouraging tips so they can avoid paying their workers their wages. And then fast forward to 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act was passed. It basically allowed businesses to pay tipped workers below minimum wage, assuming that tips would make up the difference. And to this day, some states still allow a $2.13 base wage for tipped workers.
Fuck no.
$2.13.
That's insanity.
Damn.
Confirm that is true.
I ain't know it was that though.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, I can confirm. When I was a busser at Grand Lux, they paid me only $5.50
Yeah.
per hour.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in Florida our minimum wage was $8 at the time. At least. It's been $8 for some years now. Did it go
Well,
up?
back then it might have been $7.25.
Is it 10 yet? It still ain't 10.
I don't think so.
Nah, we gonna find out. We gonna find out for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Hold up. All right, y'all. So, after doing a little bit of research, we done got it. 2025, Florida's minimum wage will be $13 per hour starting from March. It is scheduled to increase from $14 for non-tip employees on September 30th, 2025. So it's already $13 an hour now. And in September, it's going to be $14 an hour. And right now, for non-tipped employees, it's already double what it was when I was a tipped employee. I was making for $5. Now it's 10. So because everything is going up in the economy, I see now the economy's rising the match. Finally.
Yeah.
You doing all the shit talking about the shit not changing. It's changing, bro.
But it still equals out to the same thing.
It does.
Confirm that is true. This is called a tipped minimum wage, and under federal law, employers are allowed to pay
Jones Plantation.
$2.13
What?
per hour.
Shit is all an illusion.
Tips meet
Fact.
the
Think
full
you really
minimum
making
wage.
more,
That
but
means
you
the
making the
employer gets
same
to take
shit.
your tips and use it to meet their minimum wage obligation.
Now let's compare American tipping culture to the rest of the world. In Japan, tipping is basically offensive. You're expected to do your job with pride. You try to tip your sushi chef, and they're probably gonna feel insulted. In France, a small service fee is already included, and if you leave a couple coins, great, they're appreciated, but no one's gonna give you side eyes if you don't. In Australia, servers earn a livable wage regardless of tips, so a tip is more like a pleasant surprise instead of an obligation. In Germany, if you round up the bill, maybe leave like 5-10%, it's cool. But see, it's mostly in America where you find the fed up public versus the entitled, a lot of times desperate workers. And that's part of the reason why we have this rising conflict between frequent restaurant goers or people who use any service that includes tipping, and the other side, which is tipped workers. I've seen a multitude of videos of tipped workers getting online and complaining about how they served a large party and the party didn't tip enough and how they regret putting in all that effort.
I asked my table for a tip after they were gonna stiff me, and I don't care how much hate I get for this. It's a Saturday night. I'm being told I'm gonna get a party of 16, which I said, great, bring it on. Let's go, easy money. So I thought, okay? So the party of 16 gets sat in my section. They take up 3 tables in my section. So when you get sat at a party, you usually get skipped in rotation a few times because you're dealing with a big party. I get to the table, I introduce myself, I do my whole spiel. Before I'm finished even speaking, one guy's like, whoa, 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 hey, stop. He said, hold on. He said, you're not gonna talk to them, you're gonna talk to me. I'm gonna order everybody's food and then I'll give you the drinks. I said, okay, perfect. What are we having to drink? He said, no, I'm gonna give you the food first and then I'm gonna give you the drinks. I said, okay, perfect. What will you be having? Okay. I said, perfect. I've sent in the order for you. He said, and make it quick because we have somewhere to be. That's where I almost lost my shit. Because how do you come out to a restaurant, order 7 omelets and tell me to hurry up?
So the lady goes on to explain how they provided excellent service, the food came out super quick, and she made sure that they had everything they needed. Which, don't get me wrong, that's nice and all, but that's what you're supposed to do. That should be the standard. So after her patience and providing them with excellent service, this is
That's
what
facts.
When it came
That's
to pay,
facts.
he pays me cash. He gives me $321, which means no tip. And I was like, okay. So I went to the table. There's no tip at the table, anything. I said, okay, I'm going to go ask him. So I went up to him. I said, excuse me, sir. You only gave me $321. I just wanted to ensure that this was accurate. You're not going to leave any gratuity. I just wanted to make sure everything came out to your expectations. You enjoyed your food. Everything was to your liking. And, you know, I just want to make sure. He said, well, I didn't know it was mandatory. I said, no, it's not mandatory. I just wanted to ensure that this was accurate, that nobody took the tip off the table or anything like that. This man pulls out a $50 bill, gives it to me, kind of like, here's your tip and shut the fuck up, get out my face type shit, which I don't give a fuck, because how dare you go out to eat in a party of 16 on a tab of $320 and not tip.
Now look, I don't agree with the man being rude to her, but when it comes to tipping, I really feel like it's a case by case, person by person type of thing, because you're not legally required to tip. And then there's another aspect where people start shaming you for the amount that you tip. Like, these restaurants and these servers expect you to tip more than 20% of the meal's value. And not gonna lie, that's kind of crazy in this economy, especially when you think about the people who sometimes have to eat out. I mean, if they eat out a couple times and they tip every time, it's gonna get to a point where the amount that they tipped could have paid for another meal. And if you're tipping like 20% plus, all it takes is like 4 or 5 times eating out and you would have paid for a whole nother meal with the amount that you tipped. And I'd also like to point out that this 20% tip is expected regardless of service quality or shoot, even service to begin with. Like, they could just be handing you your food and they'll expect this fat tip.
Pause.
And don't even get me started with the self-serve type of restaurants. Like, sir, ma'am, I picked this muffin up off the counter. You guys don't offer table service, no refills.
Yeah, bro. If it's self-service, you're not getting a tip. No cap. If I'm paying for the meal, I'm liable to tip because that's how I was raised, to leave a tip.
Just muffins. Shoot, at this point, you should be tipping me. And we aren't talking enough about the new meta for tipping, iPads.
These screens are designed to make you spend more money. Compared to a tip jar, on-screen prompts turn tipping or not tipping into an active choice, not a passive choice. Plus, the user interface design on these tip POS systems can influence people to tip more than they typically would, simply by increasing the percentages of the default tip option. According to this study by Cornell, setting the default options higher than 25% caused fewer people to tip. But overall tip revenue increased because customers who decided to tip still gave more. This kind of manipulation of the user is what we call dark design patterns in user experience design. There are also cases where the tips don't make it back to the workers.
You'll go buy some coffee, buy some food, whatever, and then after you get your food, they'll flip the iPad and then you see a screen. And the screen will show you several options of which you can tip by percent. Most of the time, the least you can tip is like 18%. Sometimes it's like 20 to 25%. And keep in mind, they make these tipping icons huge and then they put no tip all the way at the bottom, and it's usually super small. And besides the no tip, there's usually a button to adjust the tip. And it's little tricks like these that these establishments use to pressure you into tipping. Because a lot of times when you're paying for your food, especially if you got a line of people waiting behind you, you don't want to press no tip because then you'll get a death stare from the worker. And you also don't want to press adjust tip because it's going to take so long to adjust the tip and you got people waiting behind you. So all you're really left with is pressing one of the options on the screen, which usually ends up with you tipping more than you wanted to tip to begin with. And now if this is a sit down dining restaurant and you sat down and dined, if that tip isn't fat enough, they might stare you down, they might chase you down, or shoot, you might end up on their TikTok. Okay,
$320, right? Minimum 15% gratuity would have been $48. So he basically just gave me the minimum, which is fine. But if you don't got money to go to tip, don't even go out to eat.
Who the f do you think you are? That is a crazy statement to make. I can't lie.
That's crazy.
People need to stop making it seem like it's illegal to not tip. Tipping is completely optional. And I'm saying this as someone who always tips. The only time I haven't tipped is when I received horrible customer service or if I was just down bad financially. Like, it's genuinely scary how tipping has become almost like a second tax for American citizens. And the crazier part is people are starting to use this tipping system in other professions as well. And some of them are using it to scam people.
My grandma almost got scammed for $400 by who? A plumber. A plumber came to her house, okay? The total was $2,000. He flipped over an iPad and gave her an iPad 15, 20, and 25%. My grandma, God bless her heart, I love her so much, but she clicked 20%. Thank God my dad was there. He was like, hey, what's this extra $400? Charge. And the plumber had the balls to say, oh, that's the gratuity. Are you kidding me? Like, not only is that crazy and should be almost illegal, but how is a plumber gonna flip the iPad over and say, yo,
wow, that's
gratuity.
crazy.
Now, I know some people are going to try to argue that that wasn't a scam, and sure, you might be right, but he was still taking advantage of the elderly. Because anyone who isn't super late in their years and is completely there can obviously see how crazy a $400 tip is. And for all the people who might be going out over the weekend, drinking and going to some of these restaurants, be careful because they try to scam people too. This restaurant almost got away with charging this couple $70 for a slice of pizza. And although this couple avoided getting scammed, I'm pretty sure other people didn't.
The guy was basically like, oh, you didn't mean to tip? And my husband was like, no, you didn't even show me the screen. I was never shown a screen to tip. Like, what are you talking about? And then my husband started getting pissed because he's like, are you trying to play me like I'm stupid? Like, you're saying that I added this tip. I didn't add this tip. So then the guy started getting red and flustered and stuff because, like, obviously he was caught in adding this tip to the bill.
He tried to
was
finesse.
Like trying to finesse the drunk people that were coming in too, because he was like adding a tip in manually for them. Like, the slices would be like $10 and he would be like, how about $35 for a tip? How about $20? And these people would be like, okay, fine, 25. I'm like, this dude is just finessing these drunk people.
And just an interesting side note, studies show that tipping is heavily influenced by
and the guy shit
race,
from me,
gender, and even whether the server has a smiley face on the receipt. So if you thought tipping was a fair meritocracy, just know you're wrong. It's more like a shallow popularity contest. And look, I'm not here to blame the people or blame the workers. It's these businesses that are setting their wages so low that their workers need to rely on these aggressive tipping tactics to pay their bills. Now, a lot of these workers are arguing that if no one pays tips or, you know, a good enough tip, these businesses are gonna start putting what they would have earned from tips into the price of the food. And to be honest, I prefer that. That way everyone is guaranteed their pay and it doesn't feel like anyone is forced to have this transactional encounter. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty obvious to see when a server is forcing themselves to put up with you. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Should America continue its tipping system or should we ban tipping? And do you think it'll have a negative or a positive outcome? If you made it this far, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Shout out to 4D Sounds. Y'all boys sub up, man. Sub up to us too, man. Wrote the 2K. Yeah, man. If you ask me, bro, niggas are not entitled to tip, bro. Me, I was raised to tip. My mom raised me right, so you feel me? I always tip. But if I'm picking up my food, like if I order pizza for pickup, I'm not leaving the tip, bro. More than likely. Because I did all the work. All y'all niggas did was give me the food. I came and picked that shit up. But if I'm eating out at a restaurant, more than likely I'm going to tip. Unless I feel like the service was bad.
Yeah, man. Y'all made it to the end of another video. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? Y'all made it this far. Y'all a real one, man. Love y'all. We're grateful for y'all, man. We're gonna catch y'all in the next video.